It is Polaris Dawn Day, and what a big day it's going to be. Hopefully, perhaps, we'll find out. So, of course, when we're going to talk about that, we got to grab an expert or two. Well, I found one, and that's good enough for me. It's Ellie in space joining us. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. A quick thank you to today's sponsor, Joa, who made this video possible. They provide an amazing array of third-party accessories for your Tesla. I have a bunch, I use them all, and every one of them that I've ever gotten is still in use in my car. That's true of all the accessories I've ever gotten because I'm very selective about it. Although it's coming into autumn, so I may be taking down the sunshade in the roof glass soon. Get 5% off with coupon code AZA, AZA, or AZA5. I mean, who knows? Probably both. Yeah, check them out. They've got some pretty cool stuff.
Hey.
So great to have you.
Great to be here.
Long overdue. We haven't done anything since that event in Texas a year and a half ago.
Right before I broke my leg.
Oh, that was days before. That's right. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're on the mend.
Doing great.
Those x-ray pictures were pretty gruesome and upsetting. So I'm glad you're feeling better and you're back on the wall.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So Polaris Dawn, what is it?
Polaris Dawn is a big deal. So Jared Isaacman, who's already been to space via SpaceX, is actually the mission commander for this new mission, Polaris Dawn, which will be a series of missions, actually. But Polaris Dawn is extremely ambitious. They are trying to do the first ever private commercial spacewalk, which you can imagine is a big deal. We do spacewalks in space up the ISS. We don't do them every day. And what the crew is attempting to do with this, also using SpaceX versus NASA, is very exciting. And that is just one of the many mission objectives that they have. Of course, they're going to do science and research. They're doing some really cool health experiments, including wearing these crazy looking contacts. They are hoping to reach the highest orbital altitude. They're going to be venturing into the radiation belts, which, will be interesting. I mean, they're really putting themselves out there. Sorry, a little bit of comedy for you. So I just thought of that. Kudos to me. I'll be here all day. But yeah, they're trying to do things. Oh, and I forgot another really important one. They're going to use Starlink for communications in space for the first time. So, we have benefited from Starlink during the Starship launches, but this will be different with the crew actually using it for communication. So a lot of things that, they're trying to do. It's an incredible mission. And the fact that it's self-funded by this billionaire who's actually pretty down to earth, and is now taking even more people to space. It's just incredible.
So this mission is aiming to go very high. The highest humans have been since the 60s.
Correct.
Would probably be Hubble, which is what, a half to a third as high as this. So this will be, the highest orbit, the spacewalk, the X-ray experiments. They're going to see if there's enough X-ray to just do one without the machine.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. So there's a delay. Should we worry?
You know what? No. I know that SpaceX is very careful and extremely reliable. And part of the reason that we're seeing the delay, and I think some people might not understand this, well, the first delay that we had was with a ground side helium leak. So darn, that pesky helium, always creating issues. But the second delay was due to unfavorable weather. And it's not just weather regarding the launch, but you also have to think about the return profile and having a successful splashdown. So since they're not going to the ISS, they really have a tight window and they need to make sure that they're good to go on both ends. They don't really have the luxury of sort of, hanging out at the ISS and having resources if there was unfavorable weather in the way home.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big one, is that you've got this, there's a lot of misunderstanding around it. And if you we know where we're going to land. We have to, if there's a storm coming through, we're not going to dump a capsule full of humans in the eye of a hurricane. So let's plan around that. And then, of course, the landing leg situation. Eric Berger had said that that is likely to be resolved in a matter very quickly. Your take on that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And obviously, I mean, it's no secret. I'm a SpaceX fan. I primarily cover SpaceX related news. But it's interesting to see that Falcon 9 has been grounded twice now in less than 2 months for separate issues. This latest one with incredible video, if you haven't seen it, of the booster tipping over. And not only is it, a booster that has flown many times, including on the Inspiration 4, but this is the first time that SpaceX has encountered this type of, failure with a booster landing in over 3 years. So look, for the people that are wanting to spread FUD and criticize this, SpaceX is leading and carrying the space industry. And look at how many Falcon 9 launches that have gone right. They had 267 consecutive booster landings. Like, who else is doing this? So, for anyone on the sidelines who says, wow, SpaceX sure seems to be having problems, this is why they're actually so impressive, because they rarely encounter these problems. And I do believe that it'll be solved quickly. I know that Jared Isaacman put on X that they're confident that they know what the issue was. So they haven't really fully disclosed it to us yet, but I don't think they'll be grounded for a long time. I hope.
And I agree with all that. So 1 out of 267 indicates a 99.7% success rate. And as I posted just a couple days before on X, SpaceX has a better track record landing rockets than anyone else in the business has launching them. So keep the perspective. You remember there is still on YouTube a montage of how not to land an orbital class rocket published by SpaceX that shows what it took to get where we are. And then, of course, you've also got those clowns saying, yeah, but every Starship ever launched has been lost. Yeah. Correct? That's in line with the mission parameters. That's what the permit said.
Yeah, I'm reading a book, Eric Berger, who you also follow his work. He's amazing. He wrote a book called Liftoff, and now he has a sequel called Reentry. And it's about getting Falcon 9, off the ground, landing successfully into where we have it today. And in the beginning, a lot of these SpaceX employees thought that it was quite impossible what they were trying to do. Of course, Elon Musk had them working under crazy deadlines, really just pushing them as hard as he could. And I think that, it's interesting to hear some of the early employees say that they really doubted if Falcon 9 would ever work in the way that Elon wanted it to. And then here we are today. And it's a great throwback. And it just shows you that, a lot of people think what they're trying to do with Starship is too hard, unachievable, we'll never go to Mars, blah, blah, blah. Just wait.
So here's a fun bit of trivia for you. Do you remember the John F. Kennedy speech where he talked about going to the moon in this decade?
Yes.
First of all, who says decade? But the second half of the quote is, and do you remember what the second half is?
I do not.
Oh, it's so inspirational. I'm pulling it up now. You're going to love it. It really... I
just lost like half of my viewers saying I do not.
No, because no one remembers. That's why I'm bringing it up, is because it's so silly. It is...
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things.
So there we go. Do the other things. Doesn't that just inspire you?
Yeah, other things.
And I watched from the beginning of the speech. It's about developing, alloys and just doing all the impossible things that lead up to it. But it's just kind of a fun little throwaway there. Right. So I've been to Starbase only once. The booster was out. It was not fully stacked. And I have difficulty explaining to people how urgent it is that they get down there and see this for themselves. We've seen some new restrictions on where you can be. But how do you explain to people the scale of what they're about to see?
Yeah, I don't think people understand, because I have a lot of people reach out to me for how they should plan their trip to Starbase. Do they need to get tickets for a tour? No, 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 honey. This is a self guided tour. You are driving to the end of a highway to a public beach, and along that highway, Highway 4, they're building rockets on the side of the road. So I agree with you. There is a sense of urgency because we are seeing some more, restrictions regarding visual access. So we're seeing some fences, we're seeing some walls being put up. Things are changing down there every single day, for the record. And we don't know how long certain things will be open to the public. For example, one of the ways that you can see the orbital launch pad, not a lot of people know about this, is to walk down the beach and sort of go back behind the dunes and see this incredible view. You can't get any closer to it, but who knows how long that's going to be available. Luckily for us, we have a public beach at the end of the road. So, that really works in our favor to have this access, but it's unclear once, SpaceX gets more involved with NASA and potentially, military uses for Starship, how these restrictions might just add up over time. So I would say that if you think you know what it would be like, you're probably wrong. There is nowhere else in the world that you're going to have this type of access, that you're going to be this close and see the sheer scale of Starship, the world's first fully reusable, the world's largest rocket. It is truly incredible. Take your kids, take your family. It's kind of hard to get down there, I will admit, but don't fret if you are not there for a launch. Maybe you're there and you can't stay for the launch, or the launch is delayed. There's still so much to see. And I think that, I say it's like Disneyland for space nerds. It's truly incredible.
The scale of it is so huge. What I say is it defies understanding. When we were gathering B-roll of just the booster, not even the fully stacked thing, you could see atmospheric distortion between us and the top of it. And
Right.
not because it's far away, but because it's so tall.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to go down the little side road there to the rocket garden. That's no longer a public road. And I think you're right. At some point, it would be entirely possible for the government to step in and say, nope, this is now a matter of national security. We are going to close this.
Yes.
And when that happens, it'll be unfortunate. We will lose our access to the up close webcams that
Yes.
sit parked in the cars across the street.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, So I have a big question for you. Next launch, are we going to see the chopsticks?
I think we are. I really do. Between, my interview with Elon Musk and putting him on the spot and asking him whether they were going to actually do it, like he, posted about on X, and him saying, I don't see why not once we review the data. I really think that they're going for it. If you just look at the type of work that they're doing down at Starbase, they're really focusing on, reinforcing the chopstick arms, getting those arms ready to catch. And I think people need to also remember this isn't just going to be like a, you better catch it or else it's going to slam. It's going to do that slow and controlled hover, just like we see with Falcon 9. But this time, we're going to have that extra added variable of the chopstick arms, or the Mechazilla, which is, again, something that a lot of people probably think is quite ambitious, but they thought that with Falcon 9 boosters being reusable.
So many of the things in Starship leading up to this have been crazy.
Yeah.
You're going to do a belly flop and then kick the tail out and land.
Yeah.
Come on, that's crazy. Well, no, yeah, that's what we're doing. And then we saw them do it, and we saw them get closer each time, which was very exciting. Had to sit in the parking lot of a Starbucks with my kids and watch it live because this is too exciting. That particular one did not land.
Yeah.
Also exciting. And you're right. They are welding night and day to get those arms ready to go.
Right.
So we shall see. And I guess my question would be, would you fly on one of these missions?
You know what? I would love to fly on a Crew Dragon, on a Falcon 9. I would do that today. Sign me up. They're reliable. They've got it down, and they're obviously cautious, or else, we wouldn't be having Polaris Dawn delayed. Starship, I want that thing to have a lot more guinea pigs before
Of course.
go on it.
Yeah.
Eventually, yes.
I'm not going on a first mission, that's for sure. No. Okay, guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? This was so awesome. Ellie in space. Her links will be in the description. She's on the YouTubes. She's on the X. She's everywhere you need to be. She's on sometimes the side of the road interviewing people in Texas where it needs to be done. She's going to the city council meetings and talking to those people because Ellie's got a background in news and she knows how it's done. So, guys, in the comments, leave it. You got to leave it. Everybody else, like, subscribe. You know what you're doing. Stay tuned, stay juicy. And I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one when Ellie comes back to answer some even better questions.